I was able to take this golfer who came to see me for a golf lesson down at the golf projects from this to this in just the space of 1 hour by teaching him this incredible drill that I've developed to help as many golfers as I possibly can, including yourself, transform your downswing. Kicking things off with the first thing then, just to ensure that we're getting ourselves into the correct motion at the top of the swing, we ensured that we were getting the correct amount of what we call rotary motion. So rotary motion, dead simply, is how we rotate into the top of the backswing position. So what we did was we got Nick taking his lead hand, so for a right-handed golfer, his left hand, and putting it on his belt buckle like this here. We took his right hand out in front of him, so his trail hand out in front of him, nice and flat in one straight line, relaxed, ready as if he was going to hit the golf ball. So from this point here, we just rotated and ensured that our back was facing towards the target. And bear in mind, we're doing this without a golf club, so we want to be ensuring that we're not going somewhere like this, or just like this up here. Want to be ensuring that that hand is going to be turning back to the top of the backswing here in the correct motion, as if we were to hit a golf ball. So palm is facing towards the target, set up in a nice neutral posture, left hand on belt buckle, rotating to the top. When we're doing this action, we noticed that in Nick's video on the TrackMan was that he was getting to the top and he was extending this right leg here very, very early. And the problem with this is basically it makes it very difficult to transition into the downswing. As you can imagine, if we extend this trail leg of ours, the lead leg is going to flex even more so. So when it comes to reacting, well, we're going to really extend and see what we noticed just before from Nick's video before teaching these 3 steps. So we want to be ensuring that as we're rotating to the top of the swing, we are feeling that flexion, a little bit more flexion than usual into the top of the backswing position here. And we can see that I'm getting a lot of rotary motion just from doing this. The feeling there is my right hip's going to the wall behind me. So for you guys trying this out on the golf course, it could be the right hip is going towards the tee box behind you. At the same time, it feels like I'm putting more pressure onto the center of my trail foot here as well. So when I'm doing this, I'm not just basically going like this onto my toes or this onto my heels and extending the right leg here. I'm just rotating back, and then we can start the downswing phase. So we've got our left hand on our belt buckle, right hand out in front of us, going to rotate up to the top of the backswing, and this is where it'll feel very alien to you. You've probably never been told this before. I want you to get your lead hand and put it on your belt buckle now and push it so that you're tilting your spine angle very much over the golf ball like this here. So when we're doing this, you can see that there's no change in flexion on my knees, on my lower body. The positioning there has stayed the same. My hand path has stayed more shallow as opposed to getting more over the top and steep. I've ensured that when I get to the top, my spine angle stays nice and straight. Nothing else changes. I'm not hunching over as I'm trying to reach for the golf ball. I'm ensuring that when I get to the top of my swing, we're pushing on this belt buckle, butt to wall here, hand staying behind us, and it's going to give ourselves so much room now to be able to rotate into the impact zone. So there's 2 things I want you to ensure you get correct when doing this motion, because this is the most important step. When you get to the top of your swing, you don't want to hunch over to try and reach for the golf ball. You don't want to bend the knees to try and reach for the golf ball either, because that doesn't change the spine angle. In fact, it will probably make it more vertical to the ground as opposed to parallel to it. And a bonus tip for this as well is when you get to the top and you're ensuring you're doing this move correct, and in this position here, where's my right hand? My trail hand is staying behind my body. A lot of golfers' tendencies is when they do this action, I've taught this to a lot of great golfers, and one in particular where he had the tendency to go this way, including Nick. So I mentioned, right, just make sure you're keeping that right hand, the trail hand behind when you're doing this, so it's staying here, just to ensure that when we transition through the golf ball, we're coming on a more shallower angle of attack as opposed to getting back too steep. I can imagine you've never probably seen this before. If you have, I'd be quite surprised because it's very rarely spoken about. But by all means, drop a comment, ask any questions necessary to help you ensure you're doing this correctly. Moving on to the 3rd and final thing then, it is the rotation now into the impact zone. We've got to this point, we've pushed our belt buckle back, right hand staying behind. Now the lead hand's going to go onto the left pocket, and now we want to think left pocket and hip to the wall behind us. And you can see there my spine angle is staying more over the ball, as opposed to early extension again and hips going to the ball. We're making sure that on the backswing our hips are staying away from the ball, tilting our spine angle over, and then we're pulling on this left pocket, the lead pocket, to rotate out the way, and it should look more like this position here. So when it comes to hitting a golf ball, we want to be making sure we're doing this correctly in steps throughout the swing. So set up as normal, and the first feeling obviously is we're trying to get that right hip rotating further away from the golf ball, that pressure is being maintained in the center of your trail foot, keeping a little bit more flexion in that trail knee as well. So we're going to swing all the way up to the top doing this. The belt buckle is going to go away from the golf ball, we're tilting over, and again we want to be making sure when we do this, a natural move is to go that way. We want to keep the hands behind us in this position here and rotate that left hip out the way without hitting the ground first. You'll be thinking, oh my God, it's too close. I can't hit the golf ball properly. I'm duffing every single one. Well, rotate even more. Just look at this difference right here on this one as before and this one from after. You can see how much more room Nick has been able to create just from doing this drill in the space of an hour. So work on this, keep me posted, drop a comment down below, let me know how it goes, and we'll see you in the next video.